Hello, it's me, as usual, and today I'm going to be doing a character build for Ethan/Gila as part of the H3H3 character pack. I will be using Gila for my little playthrough, but of course you can use either one, it really doesn't matter, it's your preference. So the weapon that we're going to be using is the air bow. My modifications are completely non-specific and it was not specifically made for this build. I just picked an air bow and slapped some things on it forever ago and just decided to use it for this build because it's part of the character pack. I also use the Cobus 90 submachine gun. I'll quickly go through the modifications for it. We've got a long barrel, bigger the better suppressor, accuracy boost modifier, LED combo gadget, custom assault frame, lower receiver, speed pull mag, and a surgeon sight. Oh, yes, I also use the pixel warp skin in case anybody cares about that. We're using the gas dispenser, aka vape deployable, that we get from the tag team perk deck, which I will talk about during the gameplay. Also use the two-handed great ruler melee weapon. I bring trip mines with me. And we'll take a quick look at the skill build. Originally I had first aid kits with this build, and then I realized I didn't use them during the run. So you have 12 free points to spend wherever you want. Put it in hostage taker. Put it in shockproof and dire need. Get berserker with it. I don't care. The world is yours. Use 12 points. We have converted cop skills, staple shot basic. You get the ICTV with Iron Man. Of course, get basic scavenger for a little bit of an easier time picking up the ammo drops and our arrow drops from our airbow. Get some SMG skills that we use for the Cobus, some drill skills that I end up not needing, which is nice. Unseen Strike Aced, which is amazing. And if you're using an armor build and you're playing on Death Sentence, I would recommend picking this up if you ever have the points because it is a big help. Of course, parkour basic so you can run fast, and nothing in the fugitive tree. Again, 12 free points. The world is yours. Alright, with that, let's go ahead and skip on over to gameplay. Okay, so first things first, this perk deck is butt cheeks, and I don't like it. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's move on to the run. So, tag team, of course, is probably going to be much better used in synchronization with some teammates, and I'm sure there are probably maybe 3 people out of the community who make good use of this perk deck, who would defend it until their dying breath, and I'm not one of those people. I'm not a super big fan of it. I am glad it works on converted cops. At first I thought it wasn't going to, and essentially I would have been running around with no perk deck doing this, which would have been fine, because essentially the way this run goes, I basically do it with no perk deck. Which isn't really true, right? Because there are 2 cards within tag team that give you bonus health, right? And so those 2 in synchronization give you around a 40% increase. The math works out really weird, so it's almost like they're additive to where it gives you 20% plus 20% or a 40% increase. But again, just the way that it kind of works out, you go from 230 HP unto like 320 something, maybe? I don't know. I'll have some little things up on the screen so you can see exactly how much it goes. Pretty sure those 2 cards are Scent and Inhale, right? And all they do, again, is just give you respective increases to your health, which is nice. It's better than nothing, I guess, right? And so, the other parts of this perk deck that are interesting, of course, is it gives you the gas dispenser deployable, also known as the vape, via the Soulmates card. And essentially what the Soulmates card is going to do is, if like a team player or a converted cop or somebody else on your team is within a certain radius, I think it's like 18 or something, and you press the deployable button, you'll trigger what's called a pairing, and now for the next, I think like 2 seconds or something, any enemy killed within that 2 seconds heals you for 15 health, heals the tagged person for half as much, and each kill will increase the effect by like 1.3 seconds, and then reduces the cooldown by 2 seconds or something. It's almost absurdly complicated if you ask me. Like, it's a lot of stuff to keep in mind, and when you're actually using it, it really doesn't feel like it does too much, because even if you get a bunch of kills, you feel like you're gaining next to no health back. And another interesting thing to note about this perk deck is there's a card in it that, in my humble opinion, is absolutely useless, and it's called Synergy. And really all Synergy does is when you or your tagged person kill an enemy unit, you gain 2 absorption up to a maximum of 20 absorption, which on lower difficulties might be meaningful, but on higher difficulties is going to be next to meaningless. That 20 damage of buffer, I don't know. I don't even know if it like immediately goes away or if it persists. I don't know. I think the card says that the effect lasts until the perk deck item goes out of cooldown, but I don't know if like the damage absorption gets spent like as soon as you get hit. Does that make sense? Like it's just immediately subtracted from whatever damage is dealt to you. And regardless, I don't think. I think on paper it maybe works out okay, but in actual gameplay it doesn't. Kind of like Maniac. Poor Maniac, man. It's one of those perk decks that should be, in theory, pretty good, but it's just not because overkill and number balancing don't really go together. Well, don't tell them I said that, though. That's hard to see. I was trying for a solid, like, 30 seconds to try to pair with my converted unit in there, but their hitbox, for whatever reason, with the gas deployable, is so ridiculously small whenever they're crouched, and I don't know if that applies to teammates or not, and honestly, I don't really want to test it out. There's a reason I selected 4 stores as a heist in this, because I wanted to spend as little time playing with this perk deck as possible. And honestly, for this run, the perk deck is really inconsequential. It could have been done with no perk deck whatsoever, honestly. Which is sad, right? Because I want to kind of highlight the strengths and utility of it, but honestly, you can't really do that unless you have a team. And even then, like, I'd be more of a burden to my team than not if I was using this perk deck on death sentence, which I don't really know. I mean, again, maybe somebody can make use of it. The last card in this perk deck is also kind of weird, Harmony, I believe. And all Harmony does was you further reduce your cooldown by a few odd seconds whenever you get an enemy kill. And I think it's with you or your tagged person. That's the whole thing, right? It's supposed to be a very co-op heavy deck. So of course for solo, unless you have converted cops, it's not going to be very good. Really the best thing that comes out of it is just the health pool increase, I guess. I don't really know. Also, I'm going to spend way more time than I should trying to jump out of this window, and I just can't seem to because the collision boxes are really weird, so you know, that's cool. I just look like an idiot for around 10 seconds. It's really embarrassing. I don't know why. It was so hard for some reason. I don't know what was wrong. And then, of course, you know, naturally, I get an escape that I can do, which is fine. Thankfully, it was a street escape, which is pretty straightforward, and you don't have to wait too terribly long, and it's a helicopter, and you can just kind of run to one of the spawns and hope you get the right one, which is essentially what I did. As far as like the weapons go for this character build, like the Great Ruler, the two-handed Great Ruler, it's bad. It's really slow. It does a lot of damage and has decent knockdown, but there are other melee weapons that have like the same damage and knockdown, like the katana, for example, but are way faster to swing multiple times, way faster to swing with just one time, and take less time to put away. So all around, it's not really like it has high damage, but other than the meme, it's not really that great, I guess. The airbow is actually pretty good though. Airbow doesn't really require any skills to be made good. It just has high damage. It's like a bow, except you know it's got a magazine essentially. It gets 6 shots. If the airbow existed back when Death Sentence was still called One Down, and the meta was basically to run around with a light crossbow and either a grenade launcher or a flaming shotgun, like a locomotive or whatever, you know, with Dragon's Breath, it probably would have dominated the meta if it existed at that point in time. But now, since there are other skills that kind of make up the slack for weapons not dealing too much damage on this difficulty, it kind of gets lost to the wayside. I still think it's good though. I don't use it very much because I need to kill things really, really fast because I don't have teammates, otherwise I die. I'll die in just a few hits. Especially if there's a seal unit, they'll just rip me apart. But the airbow is good. Of course, the Cobus really doesn't have too much to do with the character pack, but the Cobus is just a good SMG. And then, yeah, so tag teams, but airbow gets the thumbs up, the two-handed Great Ruler is butt cheeks. It's all just, yeah, it's kind of meh overall. And I'm not going to comment on the characters themselves because they're real-life people, and that can kind of gets into some weird territory, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to talk bad about people. I understand the situation that happened at that point in time and all that good stuff, and I think that in and of itself is kind of honorable, but it's also kind of weird. He's been kind of scratching my head, so I won't comment too heavily on it. I brought an ECM jammer on this day just in case, and also the escape triggered really, really fast, which was weird. So, yeah. That's just about all there is to Tag Team. I might do a video in the future showcasing it with some teammates, but I highly doubt it, because I don't really like this perk deck. And that's all I have to say about it. Okay. Peace.
Dirtbag. This is 2-4 reporting in. There's signs of
Man, this is some bullshit! Move this man! No!